shark tagger. Picture this. You're going around in an unstable boat armed with nothing but a fancy tagging pole, and your goal is to slap a high-tech bumper sticker on one of the deadliest creatures in the sea. It's like trying to put a collar on the neighborhood cat, but the cat is the size of a car and has several rows of steak knives for teeth. This is a regular day in the life of a shark tagger. The purpose of tagging is to get an idea about the shark's behavior and biology to help in conservation efforts like habitat protection. But before you can tag a shark, you'll have to catch it, which is about as easy as catching a bullet with your bare hands. Now, shark taggers need specialized equipment like nets or long lines, along with a ton of skill to trap these apex predators. Once caught, the shark can be tagged, which requires coming into close contact with it. After tagging, the shark is released back into the ocean to keep track of its movements and daily routines. It's like spying, but for the greater good of the animal. You can get up to $60,000 a year for your services as a shark tagger, but the role can be much more demanding. You could sometimes have to dive straight into the ocean to collect live samples from sharks, which can get very risky. A tiny error could make you go from fish tagger to fish food real quick. You could be doing everything right, and the shark just happens to be in a bad mood, and before you know it, you're sleeping with the fishes for good. Gross stunt tester. Now, earning your daily bread as a gross stunt tester might involve literally eating bread that's been marinating in a swamp for a month. Your taste buds will have to develop some Wolverine-level immunity to be in this career. As a gross stunt tester, you're essentially a human guinea pig with the spirit of a toddler who has not learned to say no to anything. Your basic responsibility is to consume bizarre food items and fluids to make sure that they're safe to be consumed on camera, usually in a reality TV setting. These items can range from contaminated liquids to freshly captured live cockroaches. Not exactly the most appetizing meals. You're also expected to dive headfirst into situations that would make most people run screaming for the hills. Remember all those disturbing fear factor stunts that made people want to throw up? You'll be the first one to test them out. So, drowning your head in 10 gallons of cow's blood and milking a goat with your mouth will be routine work for you. It's like having extremely high tolerance for all manner of bullshit, even if it's literal shit. You see, if the lingering taste of rotten meat and potential health risks due to extreme stunts are not a problem for you, then you can easily make up to $800 a day working on set in this type of a role. Pet Psychologist. You're sitting in a plush office, notepad in hand, nodding thoughtfully. Across from you, sprawled on a tiny leather couch, is your patient, a golden retriever with abandonment issues. This is kind of what it's like being a pet psychologist. You see, pet psychologists are the Dr. Phils of the animal kingdom, minus the TV deals. They tackle everything from a parakeet's panic attacks to a cat's compulsive furniture scratching habit. But it's not just about entertaining your pet's identity crisis. These pros need a solid background in animal behavior, a degree in psychology, and the ability to keep a straight face when a client insists their goldfish is just going through a phase. Their job includes diagnosing the problem at hand and laying out a detailed treatment plan for the pet according to its specific needs. Treatment can involve things like behavior modification techniques and specialized training programs to deal with issues such as aggression, anxiety, and phobias. As a pet psychologist, you can rake in anywhere from $50 to $200 per session. Not bad for a job where treatment could sometimes be as simple as a nice belly rub. Body farm caretaker. You are a curious soul interested in seeing the full circle of life. There is a job where you get to physically witness that in real time, but it's not nearly as romantic as you'd imagine it to be. Now, body farms are research centers where donated bodies are allowed to decompose naturally in different environments. This entire thing is done in the name of science, much like a gruesome outdoor experiment. Being a body farm caretaker, you would need to actively record the various stages of decay, from the initial hints of decomposition to the part where the body is basically just reduced to bones. It's like being a forensic investigator for dead people. As if this wasn't bizarre enough, the job also involves keeping track of all manner of insects and creepy crawlies that come to feast on the departed. You are basically being paid to watch someone rot away, but it's all for science. As for the pay itself, working on a body farm can potentially bring in a staggering $75,000 annually. Who knew observing people become maggot food could be so rewarding? Professional ear cleaner. Professional ear cleaners, often called ear pickers in parts of Asia, are the flag bearers of hygiene. They're like dentists for your ears, minus the judgment about your flossing habits. The practice has been around for centuries in countries like China, Japan, and India. In fact, in some places, it's considered a form of relaxation or even a social activity. Because nothing says quality time with friends like comparing ear nuggets. The procedure basically involves the use of an otoscope, a special device that can determine the amount and location of earwax. The hard wax is first softened a bit using eardrops, and then it is removed with the help of tools like forceps. All of this is done by hand and is not the most comforting experience, to say the least. Some high-end ear cleaners might even use small cameras to stream the cleaning process to a screen, turning your ear-scraping session into a bizarre form of entertainment. It's like IMAX, but way more intimate and slightly gross. A professional ear cleaner charges anywhere from $18 to $30 per hour. If you want to break into the business, you're going to need very steady hands, eagle eyes, and the ability to remain calm when faced with ear canals that look like they're housing entire insect colonies. Food stylist. Let's say you're dining out at your favorite eatery and wonder why that burger in the commercial looked way more appetizing than the sad, squishy thing you actually got. Well, you can blame the food stylists for that. They are the Picassos of the food industry and the reason your stomach growls during TV ad breaks. If you're a food stylist, you will be tasked to take regular food and turn it into something that looks so good it could be featured on TV. It's like a cooking show where plain meals get a total makeover. Everything you see in the commercials, from that ice cream that never melts to that pizza with the perfect cheese pull, has been put together by a licensed food styling professional. They basically play with their food for a living in a way that makes it look perfect and appealing. These food artists can earn anywhere from $450 to $850 a day depending on the client and project. But before you trade in your office job for a life of food sculpting, you should know that it's not just fancy artwork and games. Sometimes you'll have to spend hours on end planning the right design for a food item and deciding on what tools to use. Food styling mostly involves using inedible ingredients to make the food look good. So you have to get really creative with that, and no matter how appetizing the meal looks, you still can't eat it. Chicken sexers. A chicken sexer is like the Sherlock Holmes of the henhouse. And no, it's not what you think. These detectives have the unpleasant task of peering into the private parts of day-old chicks, determining whether they're a boy or girl. It's like playing Guess Who, but with tiny fluffy birds and a whole lot more squinting. You see, in the egg business, hens are the stars. They're the ones popping out breakfast, while roosters are mainly used for fertilization. So sorting them early is key to keeping the egg industry from becoming a disaster. If you're a chicken sexer, there are many techniques you can use. For example, vent sexing, where you gently squeeze the chick's vent in a desperate attempt to expose the chick's poorly developed genital organs. Other methods involve checking the wing feathers of chicks to determine sex, or even identifying them based on the color of the feathers they're born with. The speed and accuracy of a chicken sexer needs to be out of this world simply because of the amount of work you have to do. You need to process up to 1,000 baby birds per hour, which is basically a peep show marathon. While the job description may sound a bit odd, experienced chicken sexers can earn up to $60,000 a year in some countries. It's probably the only job where, "Sorry, I was just looking at bottoms all day," is a valid excuse for being late to dinner. Executioner. Let's say you want a job where you could kill people and get away with it, legally, of course. Then you might want to consider becoming an executioner, where your average daily routine would be to eat, kill, sleep, and repeat. Now, being an executioner ain't easy by any means, because after the criminal has been convicted, you're the one who will do the dirty work. You're basically the closest thing to the Grim Reaper anyone has ever seen. From firing squads to lethal injections, executioners need to be skilled experts, well trained in the arts and crafts of ending someone's life. A simple lapse in preparation and planning before executing someone may lead to freak accidents that would make you throw up a week's worth of digested food. These death dealers can earn $20,000 per execution. It's a bit like being a professional hitman, only with the full backing of the law. And if you're worried about people judging you for your career choice, rest assured, as the personal details of executioners are protected by law, and only a very small number of officials know your true identity. Revealing it can even be a criminal offense. This is to ensure you can kill people in peace. Odor Sniffer. Let's say you have the ability to smell things from a mile away, and you can easily tell apart perfumes from just a slight whiff. Well, you can put those talents to use by working as a full-time odor sniffer. Odor sniffers use their superpowered noses to test everything from deodorants to dog food. It's like being a wine taster, but instead of sipping on an expensive drink, you're huffing hairspray and sniffing sneakers. Now, your basic responsibility is to make sure that the products such as food, beverages, and cosmetics meet specific scent standards that ensure quality. Aside from a good nose, the job also requires a stomach that can handle just about anything, because you'll be exposed to hundreds of scents for hours on end. You can demand up to $70,000 a year being a top-tier smell expert. It really depends on your experience and how much you're willing to stick your nose in places that no one else dares to go. Dog food taster. The job of a dog food taster is simple. You have to taste small portions of dog food to check if it's good enough for the dog to eat. You basically have to think and act like how a dog would. It's like being the Gordon Ramsay of the canine world. Your basic duty is to ensure that the texture and taste of the kibble is up to industry standards. This means that you'll also have to taste products from your competitors, and there sure is a lot of competition to be tasted. Plus, it's not really as enjoyable as wine tasting or any other fancy stuff that food critics taste. But on the bright side, this is a very good opportunity to sympathize with your furry friend. You'll think twice before feeding him the cheap chow you got last month on a discount. This career also requires you to be a super sniffer, because sometimes you can just smell the dog food to check the ingredients and the aroma, if you don't feel like tasting. It also gives a human perspective on the product, because if you don't like the smell of it, your dog probably won't either. A career in dog food can make you up to $45,000 a year, and you'll also be getting free meals if you've got the stomach for it. It may look like an odd job at first glance, but putting your taste buds on the line so that man's best friend can eat in style is nothing short of heroic. Fugu Chef. If you're an adrenaline junkie, becoming a Fugu Chef might be your ultimate thrill. It's a job where one tiny slip-up could permanently send your customers on a one-way trip to the cemetery. This type of chef specializes in preparing fugu, which is a poisonous pufferfish considered a delicacy in Japan. A single bite of an improperly prepared fugu could end your life faster than you can say, "Check, please." Now, if you want to be a fugu specialist, it takes at least 2 to 3 years of rigorous training, followed by a test that would make your driver's license exam look like a walk in the park. Most importantly, the final exam would involve eating the fugu you just prepared. Now, that's one test you wouldn't want to fail, surely. You see, the thrill of dining with death is just too sweet to pass up for some food lovers. It's like an extreme sport for your taste buds. But there's a lot of reward for this risky business. They can earn up to $100,000 a year. However, despite all the training, accidents are still likely to occur. Each year, a handful of unlucky diners bid sayonara after a fugu feast gone wrong. It's probably the only job where I killed them with my cooking means just that. Disaster response driver. The life of a disaster response driver is like playing Grand Theft Auto in real life, but with a valid license and much better insurance. Reckless driving is suddenly not a crime anymore. Now, disaster response drivers are the frontline heroes during natural disasters and emergencies. Their role is to transport essential supplies to disaster-affected areas and save as many people as they can by loading them up in their trucks and taking them to safe zones. Imagine having to navigate a semi-truck full of life-saving utilities through a tornado-ravaged town, while avoiding fallen power lines, debris, and all manner of rubble. It's like you're in a Mission Impossible movie, but there aren't any retakes, so no chance of error. Disaster response driving requires a unique set of skills that go beyond the ability to parallel park with your eyes closed. They require a superior sense of direction, with the ability to quickly maneuver through alternative routes if needed. Staying calm and focused under high-pressure situations is a must-have for the role. The pressure of the work is so high that it could literally make your stomach churn if your mental game isn't on point. Knowing that your life and the lives of people you're trying to save might depend on a single split-second decision is a mind-boggling thought for many. But for these adrenaline junkies, it's like deciding between a pair of shoes before going out for work. The hourly wage for a job like this can range from $30 to $80, but at this point, it's not really about the pay. You're either about that kind of lifestyle or you're not. Manual sewer cleaner. You probably haven't heard of this career before if you live anywhere other than South Asia, and you might be thinking, isn't sewer cleaning a job for robots and machines? Well, in certain parts of the world, people literally go down and dirty into the filthiest depths known to man merely for $3 an hour. Hard to believe, but it's true. These modern-day gutter spelunkers have to ensure that the sewers connecting the city's drainage systems remain, well, unblocked. If you gag at the very thought of sticking your arm elbow-deep into a sewer line to dislodge a particularly stubborn clog, wait till you have to labor through several miles of shit under your state's sewage system. It's a dream job for the claustrophobic and the fearless. Manual sewer maintenance is widespread in third-world countries where the machines simply cannot compare to the human touch because they are non-existent. What makes this career one of the most dangerous is that most of these dudes are swimming through the sewers without any specialized gear or equipment, which puts them at risk of serious diseases like hepatitis, that is, if they're able to survive the poisonous sewer gas. In India alone, over 400 sewer cleaners have died due to exposure since 2018. With statistics like these, you have a better chance of making money gambling your life savings away than working this job. At least you still have your life in the end.